we are now ready to talk about the city of Aarhus and how it's building a tech community using all the assets that the wonderful city of Aarhus does have, no matter what people in Vesterport might think. Please give a round warm welcome to Aarhus.
Yeah. Good morning. Thank you so much for all of you for being here. My name's Natalie Novick. I'm the research lead at Tech.eu, but this talk isn't about me. This talk is about Aarhus, and I would like our wonderful panel to introduce themselves. We have a really great panel today, and the only thing that's unfortunate is you only have 30 minutes to spend with them. So please, Mikkel.
Yes, my name is Mikkel Kongsfelt. I'm co-founder of a spin-out from Aarhus University, RadiSurf, where we work with surface chemistry to change the way we combine materials, metal, plastic, etc. in productions.
Søren Petersen. I've been in a number of startups. Recently in Lippertown, I co-founded. I've been pleased to live in California for a few years, doing work together with Apple and others. And now I'm investor, so I'm focusing on new talents and where they are placed in the world. So how can we create that environment? So, Søren.
I'm Jan. I'm the public guy in this panel, and I'm Director for Business Development at the City of Aarhus. And before that, I spent many years at the business school, the former business school in Aarhus, as a rector and dean. And it should not only be about Aarhus, because a lot of the things we will talk about is generic. So it's about how to create or develop ecosystem for scale-ups and startups.
Yeah, hello, my name is Sven Philipsen, and I'm the founder of Eachthing. I was recently named one of the 25 most important influencers within artificial intelligence in the world. And our system is trying to build a platform for conscious consumers to share their needs, to make an impact in the world, to change the way our products, our groceries are produced today. So that's basically what we're doing.
Great.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. And Aarhus is an incredible city, 345,000 people, but really exceptional talent, especially as represented here. And the title of the talk, it's about growing ecosystems. And as Jan said, of course, it's definitely learnings that can be applied to all ecosystems. So maybe, Søren, we can start with you. You've had experience all over the world as the world's building the first digital hearing aid and wireless loudspeaker. What are some of the great features of an excellent startup city?
Yeah, so having a new startup, and I don't think it's so important always with geographic. I think it's mostly important what's the local environment where you are. So if you have a good kind of network of advisors which can help you building a lab, or in my case, it's a lot about audio, so there's a lot of test facilities for that needed. But other really important parts is how do you access your market? So what kind of knowledge can you get from that area where you are, so you can really find out, do the customers really want to buy your product, and do I differentiate? What is my opportunity here? And then I would say there's probably one more thing which is of highly importance, that's the cost. So being a startup, there's no money. So there's no salary, there's no nothing. So we really need to have some really low cost square meter areas with a high easiness of accessible, so we can work 80 to 100 hours a week and keep doing that for the beginning. And sometimes we need a lighthouse of a investment place and a facility for startups. And I think that's the things for the government to help about.
Yeah, maybe not the government, but the city, because I think in Aarhus and in some other cities in Denmark and abroad, we have all the key players. We do also have talent, capital, and customers around us. But sometimes it is very difficult to see what is happening in a certain city, and therefore the concept of a power, of a lighthouse is very interesting, and thank you for asking, because in fact we have a public tender where we ask people, investors, to join a possibility in Aarhus to create a very large powerhouse, lighthouse for scale-ups. So it should be just around the corner.
And we might have seen it already being started up in Paris, if any of you have been there. So you should all go to Station F, located down in Paris. That's the greatest place at Earth today, and it has changed France. So we really would like to have something, maybe a slightly smaller scale, but something in Aarhus. That would be great.
And just to add, one thing is to have the facilities, the building. Another thing is to have the people to put in it. And if I were asked what is the main topic, what we are aiming at from the city, is talent. As in a general way, try to create a educational city, educational hub, because then you'll attract the clever people, talents, come to Aarhus, get an education, some of the best ones staying there. And so if you have the talent, many things will follow. So to get success in a scale-up ecosystem, you really have to focus on talent, because some of the other things might come after that.
Right, and one of the best parts about Aarhus is it's a really world-class university. And Mikkel, your startup is a spin-out from your university studies.
Yes, that's true. It is a great university. I think one of the big disadvantages at a university is that there's really a lack of a startup environment at the universities, and Aarhus is no exception of that. There's a lot of initiatives going on in Aarhus to facilitate new startup possibilities, but I think one of the big challenges in general with universities is that they seem, for small companies, for startups, they easily seem very inaccessible. It's hard to get into the university as a small company, as a startup company, to really get some knowledge from the universities. And I think that's one of the areas where we in Aarhus, at least quite recently within my field, the material science, have started up a new network, an open science network that removes all the contract obligations of collaborating at universities, in an attempt to attract companies to be part of an open collaboration where you can collaborate on the things that you don't need to protect in IP rights and so on. And that's been a huge benefit for us as a small startup company, to be able to connect with huge companies like Vestas, Grundfos, Alfa Laval, etc., who are participating in this on equal level as the startups. And I think that's one of the key assets in a smaller city, that you should be able to attract all those parties from outside.
I totally agree, if I can come in just a second. But we have that location in our place where most of the big family companies of Denmark, the really large one, which are 30 to 100 years old, are located. So it gives a good opportunity for uniting them within Aarhus and the talents coming there. So I think that could be a benefit of our geographic location, that we have those within an hour's drive.
Right.
Yeah, and I will just add to that. So we have all this talent. I can see you are here in the room. And we also need you to be ambitious about your talent. So that's really what we need in the city. Communities like Awesome is not something that's just done by individuals. We need you all to step up to do something, to build this. We have some great people already using their time on doing great events, meetups, etc. And we really need people like you. There's a big growth in the city, and the university is a great place to get the talent. But you need to be ambitious. You need to find idols within the city. You need to connect with them, and then you need to share as well with others. That's how we really build something that's valuable.
Yeah, and giving back to the community. Aarhus has a great example. It's called Awesome.
Yeah, and what we're trying to do with Awesome is to get transparency between all the key players, between the workspaces, all the events, maybe the investor networks, etc. We're trying to restart the substance of Awesome. So please join Awesome and please share all what is happening from Awesome with the social media. And I would say, because even though you have all the key players in some kind of critical mass, you need, I would say, dedicated key players. And your comment on our nice university, I would say that don't look at the university as just a 2018 picture. We have to look at it in a more dynamic view. And the university, together with some of the other education institutions, are really changing. There are some dynamics. So looking some years changing from the old classical university to the more external, inviting business and people in. It takes time. It's you don't transform a university culture from one day to another, but it is changing. And I think that goes for many universities in Europe.
Right, and what are some of the ways that the city and the community can transform that relationship?
Again, working with our biggest companies in Denmark, all the family-oriented, and combining startup environment, push for more startups like Sven's and yours here. So push for having a location for it, which is giving success. Make some heroes locally. We make the best games in the world from the city, and the best things within the food area. So there's a lot of things going on, even movies coming up. So spread the word.
Definitely. Michael?
I would like to add on this with the facilities, and I think that's a huge challenge, and one of the challenges that has not been solved completely in Aarhus yet, and hopefully some of the initiatives with a lighthouse could be something that helps. But I also think that when in Aarhus we have a great university, and one of the big advantages is that it's collected in one campus, most of it, and that's a huge opportunity to combine the knowledge at the university with startup communities. So really, there's a need to think startup communities into the university world, especially when you have everything in a close packed space. There's a huge opportunity to create unique facilities. And that's one of the things I hope for the future in Aarhus. And there are initiatives at the old hospital and so on that could perhaps facilitate some of these things. And that's...
Sven?
Yeah, I would just add that one of the things that Aarhus is really doing here is that they're listening to you guys and what your needs are. And I can see that Slido is active, so please add your own questions as well, because this is really important for us in Aarhus, that you guys, you can actually talk to the municipality here and ask what's needed for this community. So that's a big asset, right?
Definitely.
And one thing that is being known today is that business development ecosystem has a lot to do with city planning. So when we are planning different quarters in the city, we do it in really close collaboration with our technical or city planning department, because this connectedness, getting all the key actors, not only placed by close to each other, but also turn the faces to each other. So you bump into each other. You need not be in a certain house, but you can be along a street or something. And some of the new quarters in Aarhus, and I think that's a very important learning for other cities. When you develop quarters, and there are many quarters in cities, going from being old industrial quarters to be kind of science quarters, you really have to design to design where people live, where they study, and where they work, so they can bump into each other. And just let me repeat the nice thing about Aarhus, that we have a university where some university departments have been moving into downtown. So now we always have, I would say, we have a downtown university 1.5 kilometers from, some say from the railroad station, some say from all the cafes downtown.
And I think it's a really great example and also of descriptive representation that Jan is here, and it's the idea with city planning being an entrepreneurial activity, thinking about how the city can cater to the needs of entrepreneurs, and being a part of that conversation is so important. And that's what's really impressive to see here.
And we need more international attention. So it does work within our area, but if we are not being kind of known outside of our country, Germany, England, US, Sweden, Norway, something's going on in that place, like we did last year with the cultural year, which was absolute excellent. But we should do that within the area of business for startups as well. So we need to have an international sister organization we work with in your areas of San Francisco or whoever. So I think there's a lot of things which can bring more improvement to grow.
Right.
But sometimes we shouldn't focus on one city together or against another city. We should focus maybe on what can Denmark deliver. Because I visited Munich last week and asked them when I say Denmark, when I say, oh, what do you say? They say Nordic food, they say biking, city planning, sustainability, etc. So we are known for something. And of course, when you move from the capital city, from Copenhagen, to the second city, Aarhus, you have to work harder being recognized, being known abroad. And I totally agree that there's a lot of work to be done there. And it goes not without getting all the citizens, all the companies as being ambassadors, because my department can do a lot, and we can come up with the nicest logos, etc. But it doesn't work if we don't get the people in the city to tell the story.
I was pleased to have a investment in a company called Dynastrom outside Aarhus. And we exit to a large streaming company in Silicon Valley called Roku, which is next to Netflix. So they actually have a nice location now called Roku Denmark, just in the area near the Vestas. And I think if you have more interaction with Innovation Denmark in our different locations, 8 places in the world, you might be able to see that there's so big companies which would utilize that competences within food or physics or all what we have. So we need to be more active in those to get those companies to come, because when they were coming there, we had 10 of them coming to watch what's going on in Aarhus. Where can we kind of get our kids to have an education in English and whatever is happening. If they want to move some management here, then we have to be at an international level.
Yeah, and there's only 3 hours on A7 or E45 to Hamburg, so we are close connected to the rest of the continent. So.
Right, and kind of related to that, we'll take a question from Slido. What are your perspectives on collaborating with other international startup ecosystems? What are some of the advantages or challenges? And we see each of you individually are collaborating in an international way. So Sven's consulting with over 200 different companies worldwide. Mikkel has created an incredible open science community that's really scaled across Europe. So what are your thoughts about how we can connect effectively and kind of expand our geography from a smaller city, a growing city?
Well, yeah, it's a super interesting question, so I'm sure we could talk about that all day, but well, it's up to ourselves, right, to reach out. We can always talk about, is it competing with other cities, are we collaborating with other cities? There's no doubt that Awesome in some way is inspired by Copenhagen for the win. and that's something we should do. We should be inspired by other cities and what they're doing. But we have to keep our thoughts about, we have to think about that our own ambitions, the things we are good at in our city. That's why we have some clusters in the city within food, within movies, and they're doing real great. And that's actually getting some attention to the cities, and the other startups can shine like in the shadow of these bigger initiatives, right?
And many people are actually coming back to Aarhus after being abroad somewhere. So people who actually made Siri and sold it for the company of Apple, they live in Aarhus today, the people who founded it. So we have so many people coming back, and people want to give back. So I think by making some really big events where people will come and they will connect, like this really nice TechBBQ, but it could be a different approach in our area, which is of course a combination of industry, startups, and your group, so that we could put it on the landmark. So I think it's just a matter of hard work.
Mikkel?
Yeah, I think it's just to elaborate a little bit on. I think it's absolutely crucial that we, as a small city, collaborate with other startup communities, other communities in general. If we don't do that, then we're gonna lose the battle completely. That is absolutely crucial. But I also think that it should come from bottom up. That's the best way to create communities and collaborations, and that's what we've done with the Open Science Initiative. That started not by a university, it started by companies and researchers connecting, deciding we want to collaborate on this, and actually the university management didn't really approve of it in the beginning, but now it's a part of the university strategy to build communities like this, because we started up from bottom up. And I think that's really a key thing here. The municipality, the universities and so on, they should support, but it has to come with initiatives from the people involved, and that's how you attract. If you're really engaged in what you're doing, then you're able to attract the best people from everywhere in the world, even though you're a small city.
It's a very good question, and the answer is quite difficult, because we can see the need, we can what it's about and maybe how to do it, but who is going to do it? And because I think there's no single voice of an ecosystem. There's a lot of people representing the ecosystem. So in a way, we all have responsibility for doing that. So we should be quite clear about who are going to do it and why, what are our purpose. So, but we have to work on that. Sure.
Right, and the idea that there's multiple voices in the community, but especially in this case, you have a community that is, all of those voices are collected around this awesome topic. And someone, one of the questions that was up here before was, do you have to be located in Aarhus to be part of ARSOM? Especially when we're talking about building a community that really transcends its local area. Who can be a part of this, and how can we build this larger?
It is we don't want to exclude anybody, so if there are anybody from Copenhagen that would like to be part of our awesome community, please join it.
Great, and let's take this question from Harold here. So the community is best built by an entrepreneurial mindset. So how is the building and funding of it split between the community and public actors? Is there public investment into this community initiative?
Well, the running of the awesome website and your social media, etc., is done from my department. But together with that, we do have some funding for ecosystem events, ecosystem projects. So, but then these kind of event, we would like to have them to be carried out outside the city hall, because I think the survival rate will be much higher when we don't do it.
So we're running out of time here, but if everyone, very quickly before we go, if you can tell the audience something really great about Aarhus that you would like to share.
come see our new lighthouse in a couple of years, because that's going to be built, and then we can have TechBBQ there.
Well, we both have a bay and a beach and a lot of bars, 3 Bs.
Well, it's a cozy city, it's a smaller city. It's quite easy to be a part of the community in Aarhus. It's quite easy to understand where to go, who to speak to. So definitely come and join us in Aarhus.
Yeah, and I would say much of the same thing. The close connection between people in Aarhus, the easy access to between universities, companies, and so on, because everything is connected in a small city. I think that's one of the great advantages of doing business, at least in Aarhus. And it is a nice city, and of course, with a nice bars and everything. But I think for this case, the important thing is the close community.
Great. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for your attention.